Hello, I am Anime Uchiha, and I'm here to present part 2 of What If Issei Was a Qunicie? Let's begin. The Hayadu household, late afternoon. The evening sun casts long shadows over the quiet yard as Issei practices his archery under Goru's watchful eye. Sweat beads on his forehead, but there's a focused determination in his expression. The target dummy in front of him is slightly damaged from the numerous arrows he's launched, a clear sign of his improvement. Goru stands nearby, arms crossed, a stern but proud look on his face. Miki is inside, preparing dinner, though she glances out of the window every now and then, concern still visible in her eyes. Goru, you've improved quickly, Issei. At this rate, you'll be ready for real combat sooner than I thought. Issei, panting, I can do more, Papa. I'll keep getting better. Goru nods approvingly, though his gaze drifts momentarily to the edge of their yard, where the trees still stand quietly. Goru, good, but remember, power without control can be dangerous. Don't let your eagerness to improve blind you to the risks. The Qunicie are powerful, but even our kind has enemies. Before Issei can respond, a faint rustling in the trees interrupts them. Both father and son immediately tense up, the atmosphere growing heavy. Goru's hand instinctively reaches for the sword at his side, while Issei's eyes dart around, his Qunicie cross pulsing faintly with energy. The silent intruder. Suddenly, a dark figure steps from the shadows of the trees, tall, cloaked in black, and exuding an eerie aura. The figure's face is hidden beneath a hood, but there's an unmistakable presence about them. It's neither a human nor a familiar Qunicie, but something darker. Goru immediately steps in front of Issei, protective, his eyes narrowing. Goru, who are you? What do you want? The figure steps closer, his presence unsettling. He pulls back his hood, revealing a face pale as death, with eyes that burn like fire, dark and calculating. He smirks, as if this encounter was inevitable. Figure, I've come to deliver a message to the boy. Goru's hand tightens on his sword, his body tensed and ready for combat. Goru, stay away from my son. But the figure laughs, a chilling sound that sends a shiver down Issei's spine. Figure, you misunderstand, Goru Hayadu. I'm not here to hurt him. Not yet. But the blood that flows through his veins is of great interest to those who hunt him. You should be more careful, or you may not get the chance to protect him. Issei, still confused and frightened, steps forward, his Qunicie cross glowing brighter with each passing second. Issei, voice trembling, what do you mean? Who are you? What do you want from me? The figure's eyes linger on Issei for a moment, as if considering how much to reveal. Then, with a cryptic smile, he speaks again. Figure, your heritage is a dangerous thing, child. And the world is full of those who would kill to control it. The warning. Goru steps forward, his eyes glowing with deadly intent. His voice is calm, but it carries a weight that only comes from a lifetime of combat. Goru, leave now, or I will make you. The figure merely chuckles, raising his hand slightly in mock surrender. Figure, I have no interest in fighting you today. But mark my words, Issei Hayadu. You are not just any Qunicie. Your bloodline is far more significant than you know. There are forces at work that will stop at nothing to claim you. With a sudden shift in energy, the figure vanishes, leaving only the faintest trace of spiritual pressure behind. The air grows still again, but the tension lingers. Issei stands frozen, his eyes wide with fear and confusion. Issei, Papa. Who was that? What did he mean? Goru doesn't answer immediately. His eyes are still scanning the surroundings, looking for any sign of the mysterious figure. When he finally speaks, his voice is heavy with concern. Goru, that was an Arankar, a type of rogue soul reaper. But the things he said, they're not something to ignore. Issei looks up at his father, his heart racing. Issei, an errand car? What does that have to do with me? Goro, looking down at him, you are not just any Qunicie, Issei. You are the last living fragment of an ancient bloodline, a Qunicie royal line, one that holds a power beyond the normal. Issei frowns, trying to understand. Issei, I don't understand. What's so special about my blood? Goro sighs, his expression grim. Goro, we'll have to go over this later. For now, I need you to focus on your training. You've learned the basics, but now you need to be prepared for what's coming. There are more threats out there, and they'll come after you. I won't let them take you, Issei. Preparing for the future. Back inside, Miki listens to the conversation from the other room, her face pale and worried. She knows something has changed, and she fears for their family's safety. Miki, muttering to herself, what are we really dealing with, Goro? How far does this go? Goro joins her in the kitchen, his expression troubled. Goro, we need to be ready, Miki. There's a dark force gathering, and Issei is at the center of it. We have to prepare him, even if he doesn't understand yet. The sun is just beginning to rise over the horizon, casting soft rays of light across the Hayadu household. Issei stirs in his bed, still haunted by the cryptic words of the mysterious figure. He tosses and turns, trying to shake off the unease that has settled into his heart. His Qunicie cross lies at his bedside, its faint glow pulsating in rhythm with his heartbeat. Issei, whispering to himself, what did that man mean? What's so special about me? The answer seems just out of reach, like a puzzle piece he can't quite fit. His mind races with questions, but none of them have answers. He turns over, trying to get back to sleep, but it's impossible. The weight of the world is pressing down on him. Training grounds, later that morning. Issei, now dressed in his Qunicie training gear, steps into the backyard, where Goro waits for him, his arms folded across his chest. The air is crisp and cool, and the silence is only broken by the occasional rustle of leaves in the wind. Goro, you didn't sleep well, did you? Issei, looking down, I keep thinking about what that man said. About my bloodline. What does he mean by that? Why am I different? Goro's expression hardens slightly, though he remains calm. He walks up to Issei, placing a hand on his shoulder. Goro, I wasn't planning to tell you yet, but it's time. The truth you're asking for isn't simple, Issei. You're part of a long line of Qunicie that goes back centuries, all the way to an ancient bloodline that once wielded immense power. Issei looks up at his father, confusion still written across his face. Issei, but why me? Why am I the one who has this power? Why didn't you tell me before? Goro takes a deep breath, clearly choosing his words carefully. Goro, because the world you're about to enter is dangerous, Issei. The power you hold is not like ordinary Qunicie powers. It is the power of a forgotten bloodline, one that could change the balance of the world. Issei stands silently for a moment, letting the weight of his father's words sink in. Issei, so? I'm some kind of prince or something? Like a royal Qunicie? Goro, nodding, yes, you could say that. But it's not just about the title. The power in your blood is something that many would kill to control. Unleashing the power. Goro gestures to the target practice area, where dummies are set up, ready for training. Goro, now, I want you to focus, Issei. Tap into that power within you. It's been dormant for so long, but I can feel it waking up. The more you fight it, the more dangerous it will become. Issei steps forward, his Qunicie cross glowing more brightly. His fingers tremble slightly as he raises his bow, an arrow materializing in his hand. He takes a deep breath, trying to concentrate, but his mind keeps drifting back to the figure's words. Issei, to himself, I have to focus. I need to understand what's inside me. He releases the arrow, and it shoots through the air, striking the target with pinpoint precision. The force of the shot causes the dummy to explode, leaving nothing but a cloud of dust behind. Issei blinks, surprised by the power he just unleashed. Issei, whoa. Did I do that? Goro nods slowly, his eyes narrowed in thought. Goro, that's just a taste of what's inside you, Issei. Your power comes from the ancient Qunicie bloodline, and with it comes abilities beyond the ordinary. But you need to learn how to control it, otherwise, you risk losing yourself to it. The first lesson in control. Goro steps forward, standing beside his son, his voice firm yet reassuring. Goro, the first lesson is control. Without it, power is nothing more than a danger to everyone around you. I want you to focus on the bow, feel its weight in your hand, feel the energy in your chest, but don't let it take over. Issei closes his eyes, trying to clear his mind. For the first time, he truly tries to connect with the power inside him, feeling the pulse of energy within his Qunicie cross. Slowly, the energy begins to calm, settling into a controlled flow. Issei, whispering, I can feel it, it's like a current running through me. Goro watches his son carefully, a small smile of approval tugging at the corners of his mouth. Goro, that's it. Now, release the arrow again. But this time, control it. Don't let the power consume you. Issei takes a deep breath and draws another arrow. His hand steadies, and the energy inside him begins to flow through the bow with more precision. He lets the arrow fly, and this time, it hits the target with perfect accuracy, but there's no explosion. The arrow simply sticks into the dummy with a soft thud. Issei, I did it. I controlled it. Goro claps his son on the back, pride in his eyes. Goro, well done, Issei. That's the first step. But this is just the beginning. There's much more to learn, and the road ahead will be dangerous. You're not the only one with ancient blood in your veins, and those who covet your power won't rest. Issei's expression hardens, determination filling his eyes. Issei, then I'll be ready. I'll learn. I won't let anyone take me or my family. A mysterious visitor. As the day draws to a close and Issei and Goro finish up their training, a sudden presence interrupts them. The air shifts, and a cold, eerie sensation fills the space around them. Issei immediately reaches for his bow, but Goro raises his hand, signaling for him to stand down. From the shadows of the trees steps a new figure, clad in dark armor with a familiar Qunicie cross hanging around his neck. The man's eyes are cold and calculating, and there's something unsettling about his presence. Man, Goro Hyudu. I see you've been training your son. But do you really think you're ready for what's coming? Goro stands tall, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. Goro, who are you? And what do you want? The man's lips curl into a sinister smile. Man, I'm here to test your son's resolve. The real battle is about to begin. The Hyudu house is quiet as the first light of dawn spills over the horizon. Issei stands in front of the mirror, looking at his reflection. His Qunicie cross hangs around his neck, and his uniform fits him more comfortably now. His body has changed with time, stronger, more defined, but there's a lingering unease in his expression. He's gotten stronger over the years, but he still feels like something is missing. Issei, thinking to himself, I know I've gotten better. I can feel it. But why does it still feel like I'm holding back? Like there's more I'm not allowing myself to use. His hand instinctively reaches for his Qunicie cross, the energy flowing through it like a quiet river. His father had told him many times that there was a balance between the power he had inherited and the power he had yet to awaken. But with each passing day, the pressure of that untapped potential grows heavier. Hyudu household, kitchen. Issei walks downstairs to find his mother, Miki, preparing breakfast. The warmth of the kitchen is a stark contrast to the cold unease he feels inside. Miki looks up, smiling brightly, but there's a certain tension in the air, one that only Issei seems to notice. Mickey, good morning, issei. Your father's already gone out for a run. Issei, morning, Mom. Mickey's eyes soften as she studies her son. Though she tries to hide it, there's a deep worry in her gaze. She knows the struggle Issei faces, but she also knows the danger his Qunicie power poses if left unchecked. Mickey, you've been training hard, haven't you? Issei, nodding slowly, yeah, but sometimes I feel like I'm holding back. Like there's this part of me that wants to explode, but I can't let it out. Mickey places the plate of food on the table, taking a deep breath. Mickey, Issei, you've grown so much. We've kept your Qunicie abilities hidden for a reason. The world isn't ready for someone like you, not yet. Your father and I, we're doing our best to keep you safe, to make sure you don't attract attention. Issei looks down at the table, the weight of his mother's words sinking in. He knows she's right, but part of him resents being kept in the dark. Issei, I get it, Mom. I know I have to be careful. But sometimes it feels like I'm not allowed to be myself. Training grounds, late morning. Later that day, Goro and Issei stand together in the backyard, where their training usually takes place. The area is expansive and secluded, ensuring that no one can discover the true nature of Issei's powers. Goro watches his son carefully, seeing the conflict in his eyes. Goro, you've been holding yourself back, haven't you? Issei, gritting his teeth, I don't have a choice. If I let it go, I could hurt someone. I'm not ready for that. Goro steps forward, placing a hand on his son's shoulder. Goro, you don't have to be perfect, Issei. But you also can't keep hiding from your true nature. It's a part of you, and sooner or later, it will demand to be released. You've already learned the basics, the control, the precision, the discipline. But now, you need to learn how to balance the power within you. To use it, not just control it. The hidden power, first awakening. Issei nods, uncertainty still lingering in his heart. He raises his hand, summoning his Qunicie bow, but he holds back, afraid of what might happen if he lets go. Issei, I don't know if I can handle it. Goro, firmly, you don't need to handle it alone. You've got us. But you can't be afraid of the power you have, Issei. You were born with it for a reason. Issei takes a deep breath, focusing on his bow. His fingers tremble slightly, but he forces himself to steady them. The energy in his chest starts to rise, and for the first time, it feels different. He lets an arrow fly, but instead of the usual control, the power within him surges, and the arrow blasts through the air with an immense force. The target is obliterated instantly, and the shockwave sends dust and debris scattering across the yard. Issei stumbles back, startled by the sheer power of his attack. Issei, what was that? That's not me. Goro remains calm, though his eyes are narrowed in thought. He knows that this is the moment when Issei's true potential begins to show itself. Goro, you felt it, didn't you? The power inside you, pushing against your limits. That's the power of your Qunicie bloodline, Issei. But now you know the danger it can bring. If you don't control it, you risk destroying everything you care about. Issei stands silently for a moment, his chest rising and falling with each breath. The confusion on his face is replaced with a fierce determination. Issei, I don't want to be controlled by it anymore. I want to use it for good. To protect my family, and myself. The hidden truth. Goro places a hand on his son's shoulder, his expression both proud and heavy. Goro, we've kept this hidden for a reason, Issei. But as you grow, it's becoming more difficult to keep the truth from you. You were born with the power of an ancient Qunicie, power that has been dormant in your bloodline for centuries. The world is dangerous, and there are others who would want to use that power for their own gain. Issei looks up at his father, his eyes filled with understanding. Issei, I understand. I'll be ready for whatever comes next. A mysterious presence. As the sun begins to set, the wind picks up, carrying with it an unsettling chill. Issei feels a strange presence in the air, something ancient, powerful, and malevolent. The hairs on the back of his neck stand on end, and his grip on his bow tightens. Issei, Dad, do you feel that? Goro looks toward the distant horizon, his eyes narrowing. Goro, it's time, Issei. Your training isn't just for power. It's for survival. The enemies are coming. A figure stands in the distance, watching from the shadows, waiting for the right moment to make its move. The Qunicie bloodline that Issei carries is about to attract attention that he's not yet prepared for. The calmness that had settled over the Hayadu household for the past few weeks is shattered as an ominous feeling fills the air. Issei stands in the backyard, his Qunicie bow in hand, looking toward the horizon. His senses are on high alert. He's been trained to trust his instincts, and right now, every fiber of his being is telling him that something is wrong. Issei, thinking to himself, there's something out there, something watching me. My Qunicie senses are picking it up, but I can't see anything. Why now? Why is it so close? Goro, having sensed the disturbance as well, steps out into the yard, his expression serious. Goro, Issei, stay alert. Something is coming. I've been expecting this, but I hoped it wouldn't come so soon. Before Issei can ask, the air around them shifts, and a crackling energy fills the space. From the trees, a figure steps forward, its presence unsettling and dark. The figure is cloaked in a long, shadowy robe, their face obscured by a mask. Issei, eyes narrowing, who are you? The figure steps forward, an eerie laugh echoing through the yard. Mysterious figure, the last living Qunicie. I've been looking forward to this moment. I hope you're ready to embrace your true destiny. Goro steps forward, placing himself between Issei and the unknown enemy. His hand subtly reaches for the hilt of a hidden blade. Goro, stay back, Issei. This isn't your fight yet. I'll handle this. The first clash. But before Goro can make his move, the mysterious figure raises a hand, and a shockwave of dark energy blasts toward them. Issei instinctively raises his Qunicie bow, pulling an arrow taut and firing it at the energy blast. The collision creates a blinding flash, shaking the ground beneath their feet. Issei, gritting his teeth, who are you? The figure steps forward, unaffected by the blast, as though the attack had no impact. They speak again, their voice colder now. Mysterious figure, I am but a servant of the true master. Your powers are needed to fulfill the prophecy, Qunicie. Surrender them to us, and we may spare your family. Fight, and you will die like all the others who dared oppose us. Issei's heart races. The figure's words hang in the air, and a surge of anger rises within him. His Qunicie bloodline is not something to be used for the benefit of others. He will never surrender. Issei, shouting, I won't let you hurt my family. In an instant, Issei draws another arrow, this time infusing it with a burst of spiritual energy. He fires it with incredible speed, but the figure easily dodges, moving with unnatural grace. The enemy's power is unlike anything Issei has faced before, and it's clear they're not just any ordinary threat. A brutal encounter. As the figure closes the distance, they flick their wrist, and a series of energy blades materialize, slicing through the air toward Issei. He barely has time to react, diving to the side as the blades narrowly miss him. He lands in a roll, quickly springing to his feet, his heart pounding in his chest. Issei, thinking this power, it's on a completely different level. I need to push myself further. His Qunicie bow crackles with energy as he channels more of his spiritual power, his eyes now glowing with determination. He takes aim and fires a volley of arrows, each one imbued with immense force. The figure seems to effortlessly dodge them, but Issei isn't done yet. With a roar, he activates his Qunicie cross, allowing his spiritual energy to surge even further. His bow becomes a blur of motion, arrows flying faster than ever before. Issei, shouting, "Take this!" He releases his most powerful arrow yet, its energy bending the air around it. The figure, now visibly struggling to keep up with Issei's onslaught, finally raises both hands to deflect the attack. The arrow strikes their hands with a thunderous crack, sending shockwaves through the yard. Mysterious figure, grinning, impressive, Qunicie. But not enough. The figure raises both hands, and the ground beneath them trembles. A massive dark vortex opens in the air, swallowing up the space between them. From it, a wave of dark energy shoots out toward Issei, knocking him off his feet. Issei, struggling to stand, "No. I won't lose. Not like this." But as the energy wave closes in, a familiar voice calls out, cutting through the tension. "Goro, Issei, get down." Goro leaps into action, his own Qunicie powers flaring to life. He raises his hand and fires a devastating arrow that intercepts the dark energy wave, disintegrating it midair. The force of the blast sends the figure staggering back. Goro, glancing at Issei, "You're not ready for this kind of fight yet. Stay back, Issei." But Issei refuses to back down. Issei, gritting his teeth, "I'm not going to sit here and watch. I've trained for this." Despite his father's objections, Issei summons his strength and steps forward, raising his bow once more. The figure sneers, seeing Issei's defiance. Mysterious figure, "Foolish child, your will is strong, but it will not be enough to stop us." The turning point. As the figure prepares for their next attack, a sudden explosion of light erupts from Issei's body. His Qunicie cross glows intensely, and his spiritual energy surges wildly. In that moment, he feels something inside him snap. His power erupts beyond his control, the energy forming a massive sphere of light that surrounds him. Issei, panting, this is it. I won't hold back anymore." Issei fires an enormous arrow, its light so bright it blinds the figure. The force of the attack is so overwhelming that it causes the ground to crack and the air to warp. The figure tries to block the arrow, but the power is too much, and they are thrown back by the explosion, crashing into the nearby trees. Mysterious figure, groaning, "Impossible, you're too strong." Issei stands tall, his chest heaving with exhaustion, but a fire burns in his eyes. He's not the same teenager who hesitated earlier. This fight has shown him just how powerful he's becoming, and how much further he still has to go. "Issei, I told you. I'll protect my family. No matter what. I think I'll end here. If you want more content like this, please subscribe and share with friends.